Okay, I want to look at a specific passage with you today. The passage is the opening to Book 1, Chapter 3, called The Night Shadows. And it opens with two paragraphs that really stand out as separate from the rest of the story. Dickens takes a pause in the action, not that there's been much yet, but he takes a pause in the characters to just reflect and kind of think about something in general. A wonderful fact to reflect upon, that every human creature is constituted to be that profound secret and mystery to every other. Stop and think about that for just a second. What he's suggesting, he's saying that every single person is a secret and a mystery to every single other person. And he thinks that it's a wonderful fact to reflect upon. It fills him with wonder. He's not saying it's good or bad. It's just that it's a really, really awe-inspiring. A solemn consideration when I enter a great city by night, that every one of those darkly clustered houses encloses its own secret, that every room in every one of them encloses its own secret, that every beating heart in the hundreds of thousands of breasts there is, in some of its own imaginings, a secret to the heart nearest it. So here he does take a turn towards this being somewhat solemn or sad to think about. He has the image of, imagine yourself riding, especially in those days, into a city, and you see all these houses, and they're all darkly clustered, and every single one of those houses has a secret from all the other houses. And then he considers that in every room in that house, there's a different person who has a secret from the other people within those rooms. And he almost sees this multiplying until he gets to hundreds of thousands of people that all have these secrets, even to the people nearest them. Something of the awfulness, even of death itself, is referable to this. No more can I turn the leaves of this dear book that I loved and vainly hope in time to read it all. He connects this back to death. He thinks that that's maybe what's so awful about death, is that when you die, no one is going to know all of your secrets. They're lost. They're gone forever. He compares it metaphorically to a book. No more can I look into he says, no more can I turn the leaves of this dear book that I loved and vainly hope in time to read it all. When someone dies, it's like the book is closing and he can't read it all. He's going to make another comparison. No more can I look into the depths of this unfathomable water, wherein, as momentary lights glanced into it, I have had glimpses of buried treasure and other things submerged. So in this sense, the buried treasure is sort of like the secrets that he could see, the things about a person he could get to know. Notice he calls them treasure, like they're these wonderful things. It was appointed that the book should shut with a spring forever and forever, when I had read but a page. Okay, think about that. When someone dies, that it's like the book closes and he's only read a page. That's all you can ever get to know someone, because they have so much of the rest of them is just secret that you'll never know. It's a mystery. And when the person dies, it's like the book shuts and will never open again. You can't read more. It was appointed that the water should be locked in eternal frost when the light was playing on its surface, and I stood in ignorance on the shore. He's returning to that second metaphor about looking into the depths of an unfathomable water, and now what happens is it gets locked into an eternal frost. The whole thing freezes over, and he stands in ignorance on the shore. He can't know it anymore. It's going to be there forever. My friend is dead. My neighbor is dead. My love, the darling of my soul, is dead. It is the inexorable consolidation and perpetuation of the secret that was always in that individuality, and which I shall carry in mine to my life's end. He's sad to think about and consider how when his friend dies, his neighbor dies, when his love dies, that they're going to take with them in their death those secrets that they never shared with him. And he's going to do the same when his life's end. In any of the burial places of this city through which I pass, is there a sleeper more inscrutable than its busy inhabitants are in their innermost personality to me, or than I am to them? A sleeper in the burial places of this city would be a dead body in a graveyard, right? And he's asking, are they more inscrutable than, and inscrutable means impossible to understand, impossible to scrutinize, to understand, to know, than any of the busy inhabitants are? In other words, the people of the city. He can't tell a difference between the dead and the living in terms of how hard it is to get to know them. They're both equally difficult to get to know. As to this, his natural and not to be alienated inheritance, the messenger on horseback had exactly the same possessions as the king, the first minister of state, or the richest merchant in London. Okay, so he transitioned back to the story here. He talks about the messenger on horseback from the previous chapter. That's Jerry. And he says when it comes to this, and he calls this his natural and not to be alienated inheritance. In other words, what has Jerry inherited? He's inherited the secrets of being human. And he has the same possessions. In that way, he is equal to whom? The king, the minister of state, the richest merchants. It doesn't matter. They all carry secrets, just the same. So with the three passengers shut up in the narrow compass of one lumbering old mail coach, they were mysteries to one another, as complete as if each had been in his own coach and 6, or his own coach and 60, with the breadth of a county between him and the next. They're so separated from each other. There's no way for them to know each other. Okay, so Dickens is reflecting on this idea about our secrecy. And I think some of it might be intentional, but some of it might not even be intentional. Maybe there's just things we don't know about each other, that we don't really reveal about ourselves. Dickens is going to challenge us to think about that passage and his thoughts there. You notice that this passage was written in first person, even though Dickens himself is not a character in the book. So by coming to first person, he's really relating it to us personally, more so than he normally would in a third person book. On top of that, I noticed that Dickens is playing with this idea. He's setting up this idea of secrets as being important. And this book has many secrets to it. But unlike real life, Dickens gets to know many secrets of many of his characters, and because he's the creator and he has the omniscience to be able to know his characters fully. And so we get to take advantage of that here in this book. So as we move forward in the book, you might pay attention to secrets as a motif and see what comes up and what mysteries come up that baffle you, and hopefully they'll all be solved by the end.